But our top focus right now and all of this evening. In a few hours from now, the United Nations Security Council will decide on the fate of the Jaish-e-Mohammad chief Masood Azhar. Now, China is the only permanent member which has so far blocked the listing of Azhar. It has done so 3 times already, and it looks like Beijing is going to block the move yet again. Now, just ahead of the vote, China hinted that it may once again block the bid to designate Azhar as a global terrorist. China's foreign ministry spokesperson said, quote, "The solution that is acceptable to all sides is conducive to resolve the issue," end quote. While India has pushed for sanctioning Azhar, Pakistan has continued to get Beijing support on blocking the bid. China has been insisting that the solution should be acceptable to all. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said, quote, "I want to say that China always adopts a responsible attitude, engages in consultations with various parties and properly deals with this issue. The discussions must follow the rules and procedures of the relevant bodies, and only the solution that is acceptable to all sides is conducive for resolving the issue," end quote. So as expected, China's speak on the issue of Masood Azhar is confusing, to say the least. We spoke with Atul Aneja, a senior Indian journalist in Beijing, and asked him why China is blocking India's bid to ban Masood Azhar and what Beijing stands to gain from continuing to do so. This is what he told us. Listen in.
The Chinese here are playing a long game. And after India, which will obviously object and protest in case, as we assume, that China will not allow Masood Azhar to be designated as an international terrorist, it would probably try another round of engagement where it would try and build consensus through a very active diplomatic initiative between India and Pakistan. In the long run, China wants both India and Pakistan to be on board its Eurasia-centric project and wean away India from getting too close to the United States, Japan, Australia, the Quad, and the international and the Western alliance system. So I suppose we have not seen an end to it. Whether it's going to succeed or not is a million-dollar question. As of now, India goes into election mode, so I doubt anything much is going to happen from the Indian side. But I think around summer, after the election results are over, we might see another round of diplomacy where China makes an attempt to reconcile differences between India and between Pakistan and India. Not sure whether it's going to work, but the Chinese have actually taken a very high-profile stance now to interject in the India-Pakistan equation, something which they have never done before in terms of visibility, as they're doing now.
Now, what's clear from all of this is that India's stance on the Masood Azhar issue has been the same the whole time, but Pakistan's stance on Masood Azhar's listing is what remains unclear. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has said in an interview that Pakistan will not put its friends in trouble. But the Foreign Ministry spokesperson had told WION that Islamabad's decision on Azhar's listing would be in the country's interest. Meanwhile, China's junior foreign minister was in Islamabad recently. Sources told WION that the issue of Masood Azhar's listing was part of the discussion. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that the only solution acceptable to all sides will be the one conducive to the issue. Beijing has said that Azhar's listing must follow rules and procedures of the United Nations. But remember, China has already blocked the listing 3 times in the past. Meanwhile, India has slammed Pakistan at the 40th session of the UN Human Rights Council for its sustained support of terrorism and for raking up the Jammu and Kashmir issue. This comes just ahead of the decision on listing of the JEM chief Masood Azhar under the UN terror list by the UNSC 1267 committee. An Indian diplomat representative said that Islamabad continues to support terror attacks against India, the latest being the 14th February Pulwama terror attack. She reminded Pakistan of its infamous distinction of hosting 132 UN-designated terrorists and 22 terrorist entities.
Pakistan's continued support to cross-border terrorism is the main challenge to protecting the human rights of our citizens in the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. The confirmation of using UN-prescribed terror organizations Jaish-e-Mohammad as an instrument of state policy by Pakistani military and political leadership is already in public domain.
On the issue of Islamabad raking up the issue of Indian minorities at the world body, the Indian diplomat refocused the attention on Pakistan's treatment of minorities and their persecution under the blasphemy law and denial of basic rights.
Pakistan is known to the international community for its acts of aggressions, harboring safe havens for terrorists, military courts trying civilians, harassment of minorities through blasphemy law, forced conversions and marriages of minorities.
This sentiment was also echoed by Kashmiri political activists and intellectuals who called out Pakistan's duplicity and hypocrisy on Jammu and Kashmir.
Firstly, Pakistan invaded Jammu and Kashmir in 1947. Since then, it has been an occupier, and now it's a broker as it is negotiating the sale of Gilgit-Baltistan to Beijing. Mr. President, Pakistan has forcibly divided Jammu and Kashmir while it continues fomenting terrorism and keeps deceiving the world by manifesting itself as a self-styled protector of the rights of the people of Jammu and Kashmir for over 7 decades.
Now, on the eve of the UNSC vote, the U.S. State Department Deputy Spokesperson Robert Palladino said that India and the U.S. are working together on counter-terrorism. Palladino said that China and the U.S. share a mutual interest in achieving regional stability and peace, and the failure to designate Azhar would run counter to this goal. Here's a snippet from the State Department briefing.
Is the U.S. concerned that China might block the UNSC 1267 listing request for Jaish-e-Mohammad chief Masood Azhar, because Beijing made some comments yesterday that would suggest that China was potentially going to put a hold on it or block it?
Regarding Masood Azhar, the United States and India work closely together on counterterrorism efforts, and that includes at the United Nations. And our views on Jaish-e-Mohammad and its founder are well known. JEM is a United Nations designated terrorist group. Azhar is the founder and the leader of JEM, and he meets the criteria for designation by the United Nations. JEM has been responsible for numerous terrorist attacks and is a threat to regional stability and peace. Now, the United Nations Sanctions Committee, their deliberations are confidential, and as such, we don't comment on specific matters, but we'll continue to work with the Sanctions Committee to ensure that the designation list is updated and accurate. Regarding your specific question on China, I would say that the United States and China share a mutual interest in achieving regional stability and peace, and that a failure to designate Azhar would run counter to this goal.
Right, we'll be watching proceedings at the UNSC very closely, and will of course get you an update as and when a decision is made on Masood Azhar. But for now, let's turn our attention to the other big story that's been brewing since Sunday, since the Ethiopian Airlines crash near Addis Ababa. India's aviation regulator has finally effectively barred the Boeing 737 MAX fleet from flying over the Indian airspace. After a meeting of the agency's top heads a few hours ago, the Director General of Civil Aviation said that no Boeing 737 MAX jets will take off or land at any Indian airport.
All the aircraft, MAX, they have been shot by 2:30, and then, as you know, that we have also taken a notum that no aircraft should overfly or come to India or fly outside. So that notum has till 4 that was there. So everybody, even with the international players, they had enough time to adjust to that. So after 4, the AI has passed orders to everyone that no aircraft with MAX, the SVT MAX aircraft, that has to be accepted. So that will be fully complied with.
Late last night, India finally decided to ground all Boeing 737 MAX jets 3 days after the Ethiopian airline crash. India's aviation watchdog, the DGCA, decided to suspend the aircraft until appropriate modification and safety measures are undertaken to ensure safe operation. In India, SpiceJet and Jet Airways both operate this particular aircraft. SpiceJet has 13 of this model in its 75-strong fleet, while Jet has 5 B737 MAX 8s. Following the DGCA order, SpiceJet issued a statement. I'm going to read it out for you now. SpiceJet has suspended Boeing 737 MAX operations following the DGCA's decision to ground the aircraft. Safety and security of our passengers, crew and operations are of utmost importance to us, and we will be working with the regulator and the manufacturer to attain normalcy in our operations. We are confident of accommodating the vast majority of our passengers and minimize inconvenience. End quote. SpiceJet had earlier defended the Boeing 737 MAX, calling the model highly sophisticated. But why exactly is the US President Donald Trump's Federal Aviation Administration, or the FAA, not grounding the Boeing 737 MAX? The reason, it appears, is more political than operational. Now, ties between Boeing and the US President run deep. First, Trump is an aviation enthusiast and was once the owner of an airline, that's Trump Shuttle, which was in close contact with Boeing during its 3-year-long lifespan. Before entering the White House, Trump had his personal Boeing 757 as well. Secondly, Trump's connection with Boeing CEO Muhlenberg isn't new. Remember, Trump had personally negotiated with Muhlenberg to try and lower the cost of a future version of the US presidential aircraft. In July last year, Boeing won a $3.9 billion contract to replace the 2 Air Force One jets. Third, Trump used Boeing products and sites as a backdrop of major presidential announcements. In July last year, he spoke about the impact of his tax overhaul bill during a visit to a Boeing plant in St. Louis. But it isn't just the US president. Top White House officials have a close nexus with Boeing as well. The U.S. Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan worked for Boeing for 31 years before entering the Pentagon. The former U.S. ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley, has been nominated by Boeing to join its board of directors. Apart from these individuals, there are some more facts that help solve the puzzle of Trump's Boeing bias. Boeing is the U.S.'s second largest defense contractor. The company received $104 billion in unclassified defense contracts between 2014 and 2018. It is no surprise then that Trump's administration has repeatedly urged its allies to buy Boeing products. According to reports, it was Trump who had pressed the Emir of Kuwait to go ahead with a long-delayed deal with Boeing for its FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jets. This is by no way the first time that Trump is batting for Boeing. Boeing CEO Muhlenberg had earlier said that purchases of US-made aircraft could be part of the US-China trade deal.
We're very concerned. We are.
In other news, a 3-story building has collapsed in Nigeria's largest city, Lagos. The building had a primary school on the top floor, and many school children are among those fear-trapped. A massive rescue operation is currently underway. Now, these are visuals, of course, from Lagos, the capital of Nigeria, where a building has collapsed. It housed a school, and there is fear that there are a number of school children who are also trapped under the debris. There is a massive rescue and search operation that is currently underway to ascertain how many people are trapped under and to provide relief immediately.